Hello everyone and welcome to the biology lecture series. And today we'll be discussing the NCERT exercise questions for the topic human reproduction. So this lecture is a continuation of the previous lecture. Alright, so we've already solved some of the questions and we'll solve rest of the questions in this lecture. So the question is, draw a label diagram of the male reproductive system. You have to draw the diagram and you have to label it. Okay, so let's have a look at the answer here. So this is the diagram of the male reproductive system. Clear? So male reproductive system, what were the parts of the male reproductive system? The male reproductive system, this comprises of, we've already discussed in the theory. First one is the primary sex organ. What is the primary sex organ in males? This is testis. Clear? Testis. What is the function of the testis? Production of the gametes, which is the sperm. So in testes, the sperms are produced by the process of spermatogenesis, and then testes is involved in the secretion of the hormones. The male sex hormone that is known as the androgen. All right, an example of the male sex hormone is testosterone, which is secreted by the testes. Now, second, accessory ducts. Okay, male consists of reproductive system consists of primary sex organ, accessory ducts. All right, what are the accessory ducts? These are epididymis, rete testis, okay, vasa efferentia, okay, and vasa deferens. All right, and what were the function of accessory ducts? Transfer, storage, and maturation of the sperms. Clear? What is the function of accessory ducts in males? Transport, storage, as well as maturation of the sperm. Okay, so transport of the sperm, okay, from the testis to the outside. Clear? This is the function of the accessory ducts. Along with the sperms are also stored and sperm maturation also takes place. Then, next is the accessory glands. What are the accessory glands? Seminal vesicle. All right, prostrate. And the third one is what? Bulbourethral gland. Clear? So these are the accessory glands: seminal vesicle, prostrate gland, and the bulbourethral gland. So what is the function of accessory glands? These glands, they form the seminal plasma. So this seminal plasma, it consists of the fructose. Okay. So there is fructose in this. Calcium is also present in seminal plasma, and seminal plasma is one of the component of the semen. Okay, so seminal plasma will help to form the semen. Then fourth one is the external genitalia. External genitalia is the penis. So these are the components, or you can say parts of the male reproductive system. Now let's go back to this image. So you can see here, this is the vas deferens. Clear? Epididymis, vasa recta, ready testes. These are the accessory ducts. Then these are the testes. So there is a pair of testes. Clear? Two testes are present in the scrotum. These are present in the scrotum. These are the testicular lobules. Each lobule consists of seminiferous tubules. Clear? This is seminal vesicle, prostate, and the bulbourethral gland. These are the accessory ducts. These are the accessory glands. These were the accessory ducts. Clear? Then this region is the penis, which is the external genitalia. Clear? Testes are the primary sex organ. Then this is the glans penis, which is covered by the foreskin. Clear? And rest, what is this? This is the ureter, which is coming from the kidney. So two kidneys are present. Each ureter rise from each kidney. So there are two ureter. Then the ureter, they discharge the content into the urinary bladder. So urinary bladder stores the urine for some time. So these are some additional parts. Okay. So this is the image showing you the labeled image showing you the male reproductive system. Okay. Now let's move on to the next question. The next question is, again, you have to draw a labeled diagram of the female reproductive system. Clear? So this is how the female reproductive system looks like. So again, the female reproductive system, let's talk about this. It consists of what? Now we are talking about the female reproductive system. So first, it also consists of the primary sex organ, which are the ovaries. So there are pair of ovaries. All right. Ovaries is again, it is a primary sex organ in females. And what is the function of ovaries? It produces the female gamete, that is the ovum, and it also secretes the hormones. Clear? So what is the first function? Production of the female gamete. Which is known as the ovum. And then second is the male gamete. Second is the secretion of the hormones. Such as estrogen and progesterone. Clear? So these are known as the ovarian hormones. Estrogen and progesterone. Clear? Then female reproductive system also consists of the accessory ducts. Clear? And third one is the female external genitalia. Now what are the accessory ducts? This is the fallopian tube. Which is also known as the oviduct. Okay, another name for fallopian tube is the oviduct. Clear? Then uterus is also an accessory duct and vagina. Clear? External genitalia includes what? It includes mons pubis, labia majora. All right, we have already talked about this in the theory session. Labia majora, labia minora, clitoris, and hymen. Okay. Clear? Now, so here you can see this is the labeled image of the female reproductive system. So these are the accessory ducts: fallopian tube, uterus, as well as the vagina. Fallopian tubes has three parts. First is the infundibulum, which is a funnel-shaped structure. It is funnel-shaped and it consists of finger-like projections that is known as the fimbriae. Clear? What is the function of this fimbriae? It helps in the collecting of the ovum. It helps in the collection of the ovum, which is released during the ovulation. Then next region is the ampulla region. Ampulla region is the widest part of the fallopian tube, and this is the site of the fertilization. So in the ampulla, fertilization takes place. Clear? Then this is the isthmus. So isthmus is the narrow connective tissue, narrow connective tube, you can say, that connects the ampulla to the uterus. Clear? Now, endometrium, myometrium, perimetrium, these are the uterine walls. Uterus has three walls. Outermost is the perimetrium, middle one is the myometrium, and innermost is the endometrium. All right, here you can see the uterus. It is connected to the vagina. It leads into the vagina through this cervical canal. Clear? And cervical canal along with the vagina, this is known as the birth canal. Clear? So this is the image of the female reproductive system. Clear? Now let's move on to the next question. What is the next question here? You have to write two major functions, each of testes and the ovary. So this is very simple. What is the function of testes and ovaries? Okay, both of these are primary sex organ. And what is the function of primary sex organ? Okay, so there are two functions of a primary sex organ. First is the production of the gamete. Okay, and second is the production and secretion of the hormones. Clear? So let's have a look at the major functions of testes and ovaries. So testes, the process of spermatogenesis, produces sperms through the seminiferous tubules. So you know testes have testicular lobules, okay, which are known as the compartments. So they are around 200 to 250 lobules, and each lobule consists of seminiferous tubule, and within the seminiferous tubule the process of spermatogenesis takes place. And with the help of spermatogenesis, what is produced? The haploid sperms are produced. So testes are involved in the production of the sperms, you can say, which is the male gamete. And then second function is the production of the male sex hormone, which is known as the testosterone. Okay, so this is a male sex hormone which is secreted by the Leydig cells. So Leydig cells that are present in the testes, all right, these secrete the testosterone, or you can say the androgen. What are androgens? Androgens are the male hormones. Leydig cells, these are also known as interstitial cells. Clear? So you can see primary sex organ is involved in the production of gamete as well as the secretion and production of the hormones. Clear? So this primary sex organ, they also act as an endocrine gland. So both testes and ovaries, these are known as gonads. Gonads, they are the kind of endocrine gland. What is the function of endocrine gland? They secrete the hormones. So both of these, okay, testes as well as the ovaries, these are known as the gonads, okay, and they are kind of endocrine glands because they secrete the hormones. Similarly, ovaries. So ovaries, by the process of oogenesis, okay, so oogenesis takes place within the ovary and it produces the ova, okay, which is the female gamete. Then it also secretes the, what is the other function? It secretes the ovarian hormones, both progesterone and estrogen. These are known as what? These are known as the ovarian hormones. Clear? These are the female sex hormones. And you must be knowing about the functions of the estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone is regulate the menstrual cycle. It also helps to maintain the bone density. Similarly, progesterone also, it is known as pregnancy hormone. It helps to maintain the uterine wall, endometrium, and prepares the uterus for the implantation. Clear? It also helps indirectly in the lactation. And testosterone, it helps in the process of spermatogenesis and also helps in development of the secondary sexual characteristic. Clear? The ovarian hormone also help in the development of the secondary sexual characteristic. Clear? Now let's move on to the next question. Describe the structure of the seminiferous tubule. Seminiferous tubules are present within the ovaries, within the testes. Clear? So let's discuss this. The structure of the seminiferous tubule is listed below. The seminiferous tubules are found in the testicular lobules. So we have already discussed each testis consists around 250 testicular lobules and each lobes contain the seminiferous tubule, and seminiferous tubules are highly coiled structures. Now it is here that the production of the sperm in the testis occur. So this spermatogenesis takes place within the seminiferous tubules. Now each of the seminiferous tubules has a lining of the germinal epithelium. Clear? On the inner side of the seminiferous tubule, two types of cells are present. Alright, what are these two types of cells? Sertoli cell and spermatogonia. So spermatogonia, these are diploid cells. Means they consist of two chromosome sets, and through meiosis in this spermatogonia, the sperms are produced. And these Sertoli cells, they provide nourishment to the spermatogonia. Clear? So they provide nutrition to the spermatogonia, and spermatogonia, these are diploid cells, and through meiosis in these cells, the sperms are produced. So these cells are involved in spermatogenesis or production of the sperms. Clear? We have already discussed what are the stages in the spermatogenesis. Clear? First, from spermatogonia, primary spermatocytes are formed, then secondary spermatocytes are formed, then spermatozoas are formed. Clear? Now spermatogonia, let's talk about spermatogonia. So these are known as the male germ cells that produce the primary spermatocytes, okay, through the process of mitotic divisions. Clear? So what happens initially? The spermatogonia, so these are spermatogonia, which are also known as the male germ cells. So these cells are diploid. So first, mitotic differentiation takes place. Clear? Then what happens from mitotic differentiation? Primary spermatocytes are produced. So these primary spermatocytes will also be diploid because they are produced by mitosis. Then what happens here? Meiosis 1 will take place. That's why I have told you through meiosis in these spermatogonia, sperms are produced. So this will produce secondary spermatocyte. Clear? So here it is in a primary spermatocyte undergo meiotic divisions for the formation of the secondary spermatocyte. Two secondary spermatocytes are formed here. This is meiosis 1. Meiosis takes place in two phases. Then again, meiosis 2 will take place. Meiosis 2 is same as the mitosis. So what will be produced? Spermatids will be produced. Spermatids will be haploid. Okay. So through meiotic division, secondary spermatocytes are formed, and ultimately spermatids are formed, and later on spermatid metamorphosize into the male gametes known as spermatozoa. So from spermatids, what will be formed? Spermatozoa. Clear? Sertoli cells, let's talk about the Sertoli cells. So these are referred to as the nurse cells of the testes, and they give nourishment to the male germ cells, which are known as the spermatogonia. Now, just adjacent to the seminiferous tubules, they are large polygonal cells referred to as the Leydig cells, also known as the interstitial cells. And we've already seen what is the function of Leydig cells. They secrete the male sex hormone, which is known as the testosterone. Clear? Or you can say on the outer side of the seminiferous tubule, these Leydig cells are present. So here you can see this is the image of the seminiferous tubule. So in the seminiferous tubule, the process of spermatogenesis is taking place. So you can see this is the spermatogonium, which is diploid, and this undergoes first mitotic differentiation to give rise to primary spermatocyte. So primary spermatocyte should be diploid. From this primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocytes are produced through meiosis. Clear? So here meiosis 1 will take place and will give rise to secondary spermatocyte. Secondary spermatocyte will be haploid. Secondary spermatocyte, they get transformed into spermatid. Spermatid will be haploid, and spermatid finally transform into the male gamete, which is known as the spermatozoa. Okay, or you can say sperm. Clear? So this is then image showing you the seminiferous tubule and the process of spermatogenesis. Also you can see Sertoli cells, you can see, also known as the nurse cell. So these cells provide nourishment to the spermatogonia. Clear? Now next one, what is spermatogenesis, and briefly describe the process of spermatogenesis. So this we have already discussed. Alright, so the phenomena of sperm production from the immature germ cell in males, this is termed as spermatogenesis. Now this process occurs in the seminiferous tubules. We've already seen in this process a diploid male germ cell known as the spermatogonia. It enlarges in size to form the diploid primary spermatocytes. So this is happening to mitosis differentiation. Spermatogonia, they form the diploid primary spermatocyte we've already seen, which in turn go through the first meiotic division, also known as the meiosis 1. Now this division is a reductional division. Meiosis 1 is reductional division. There is a reduction of the chromosome. Clear? So if the cell is diploid, it will transform into the haploid. The primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis 1 and it forms the two equal haploid secondary spermatocyte, which will be haploid. So after meiosis 1, two cells are produced. So if this is one cell which is diploid, so after meiosis 1, two cells will be formed. So these two cells will be haploid. Then again these cells will undergo meiosis 2, and meiosis 2 is same as mitosis. So initially two cells are formed after meiosis 1. Then after meiosis 2, four cells will be formed. So these four cells will be haploid. Clear? So this is what it's saying. So this was what? This was the primary spermatocyte. All right. This was primary spermatocyte. they form from the spermatogonia. Spermatogonia was diploid. So here what happens? Through mitotic differentiation, means mitosis is taking place here. Through mitotic differentiations, the spermatogonia, they form this primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte will be diploid. Meiosis volume takes place in the primary spermatocyte, which will give rise to the two haploid secondary spermatocyte. So these will be haploid. Then meiosis 2 will take place. And what will be formed? Spermatids. So 4 spermatids are formed. And these spermatid will transform into what? Spermatozoa. Clear? So here two secondary spermatocytes are formed, each of which further undergoes second meiotic division or meiosis 2 to form two equal haploid spermatids. So from each two haploid spermatids are formed. So in total 4 will be formed. Now these 4 haploid spermatids, they get, okay, which are formed from the diploid spermatogonia. So 4 spermatids are formed. So these are 4 spermatids. They are formed from the diploid spermatogonia. Clear? And the spermatids hence produce alter to form spermatogonia. So they transform into the spermatozonia, which is also known as sperms, through the process of spermiogenesis. So what is spermiogenesis? Clear? This is spermiogenesis. Transformation of spermatids into the spermatozoa. So this process is known as spermiogenesis. Clear? Now next question, name the hormone involved in the regulation of spermatogenesis. This is quite simple. Let's have a look at the answer. Now some hormones involved in the regulation of spermatogenesis are listed below. First one is the LH, luteinizing hormone. So this is secreted from the pituitary. So these luteinizing hormone, which is secreted by the pituitary, this trigger the Leydig cells to synthesize and secrete the androgen. And what was the androgen? Testosterone. Okay, which is the male sex hormone. Gonadotrophin releasing hormone. So this is the hypothalamic hormone that is secreted at the age of the puberty. So whenever the organism this attains the puberty, means the transformation of the adolescence phase to the reproductive phase, then what happens? This gonadotrophin hormone releasing hormone is released, which act at the anterior pituitary gland and stimulate the secretion of LH and follicular stimulating hormone. Clear? So you can see there is a series. LH and FSH, these are secretion of these hormones are secreted by gonadotrophin releasing hormone. Then again, luteinizing hormone, you can see this triggers the release of testosterone from the Leydig cells. Now let's talk about the follicle stimulating hormone. It acts on the Sertoli cells, stimulating the secretion of the factors that aid in the spermiogenesis. So spermiogenesis is stimulated by follicular stimulating hormone. Clear? And it acts upon the Sertoli cells, which are also known as the nurse cell. Clear? What was spermiogenesis? Transformation of spermatid into a spermatozoa. Then androgens, these are known as the male hormone. So it triggers inhibin production, regulating the spermatogenesis process. Clear? Next question, define spermiogenesis and spermiation. We already know about spermiogenesis. Let's talk about spermiation also. Spermiogenesis, so it is the phenomena of the transformation of the non-motile spermatids to mature motile spermatozoa. Clear? So spermatids which were haploid, these are produced through meiosis. That's why they are haploid. Then what happens? These spermatids are non-motile and they metamorphosize into the mature and motile spermatozoa, also known as the sperm. So you know sperm can swim because it has a tail. Clear? So this is known as spermiogenesis, transformation of the spermatids into the mature spermatozoa. And what is spermiation? It is the phenomena where the mature spermatozoa, this one, okay, which is motile, they are released from the Sertoli cells into the lumen of the seminiferous tubules of the testes. So what happens? Why it is saying they are released from the Sertoli cells? So what happens? This mature spermatozoa, when it is formed, the head of the spermatozoa, okay, head of the spermatozoa, clear? This gets inserted into the Sertoli cells. This gets inserted into these Sertoli cells. Why? Because they give nourishment to the spermatozoa. Then what happens during this permeation? The spermatozoa are released from the Sertoli cells because they are inserted into the Sertoli cells. So they are released from the Sertoli cells and they are transferred to the lumen of the seminiferous tubules which are present in the testes. So this is known as spermiation. Clear? Now we move on to the next question. Draw a label diagram of the sperm. Clear? So this is the label diagram of the sperm. So sperm consists of, you can see the head region. This is the head region. Okay, then you have the neck region, then middle piece, and then the tail. So these are the 4 regions of the sperm. Head, then you can see the neck, then middle piece, and the tail, which helps in the swimming. So head is consists of what? It consists of the nucleus containing the chromosomal material. So it is haploid, consists of 1 chromosome set. Clear? Then this is the acrosome. Okay, so tip of the head consists of the acrosome, and acrosome consists of the enzymes which are known as the acrosome enzyme that help in the penetration of the ovum. Then the body of the sperm is covered by the plasma membrane, surrounded by the plasma membrane. Then you can see this is the neck region. Then there is a middle piece, and middle piece consists of the organelle known as the mitochondria, which provides energy for the swimming. So you know mitochondria, this is known as the powerhouse of the cell, and it produces ATP. You know, this sperm, it has to swim and it has to reach the ovule, because it has to reach the ovum, because the ovum or the egg, this is non-motile. So these sperms, after the insemination, they have to swim and they have to reach the ampulla region of the fallopian tube where the fertilization takes place. So tail helps in swimming, but the swimming requires energy, and this energy is required by the mitochondria that is present in the middle piece. Clear? So these are the 4 parts of the sperm. Clear? And you should know what are the functions of the each part of the sperms. Okay, you should know the function of the acrosome, then you should know the function of mitochondria, function of the tail. Clear? Now let's move on. What are the major components of the seminal plasma? So seminal plasma, these are secreted by the accessory ducts present in the these are secreted by the accessory glands present in the males. Okay, the major components of seminal plasma are as follows. So these are the secretion of the accessory sex glands in the males. And what are the accessory sex glands in male? Prostate gland, seminal vesicles, and the bulbourethral gland. And what are the composition of the seminal plasma? It consists of the calcium, it consists of the fructose, and it consists of the enzymes. Clear? So these consist of all these factors. Fructose provide energy to the sperm. So you know seminal plasma, this is one of the component of the semen. So semen consists of the seminal plasma also, and along with it, it also consists of other things also, like it consists of zinc also, citric acid also. Clear? So seminal plasma is consists of the calcium, fructose, and some enzymes. All right, and these are secreted by the accessory glands. Clear? Prostate gland, seminal vesicle, and the bulbourethral gland. Now let's move on to the next question. What are the major function of the male accessory ducts and the male accessory glands? So you know what are the male accessory ducts? So here you can see these are These are the male accessory ducts: vasa efferentia, retitestis, vasa deferens, and epididymis. So what is the function of vasa efferentia? It conducts sperms from the retitestis to the epididymis. So you can write it conducts the or transport of the sperms. It transports the sperms from the retitestis to the epididymis. Clear? Then what is the function of retitestis? It stores the sperms that are produced by the seminiferous tubules. The function is the storage of the sperms. Vasa deferens. It conducts sperm from epididymis to the urethra. Okay, so what is the function? Again here, this function is the transport. Transport of the sperm from epididymis to the urethra. And from the urethra, the sperms are discharged. Here also, the function is transport only. Clear? Now, epididymis, physiological maturation of the sperm takes place, storage and nourishment of the sperm takes place. So, epididymis is very much important here. Clear? It helps in the maturation of the sperms. So, I've already told you this previously. Overall function of accessory ducts was transport, storage, and maturation of the sperm. So, maturation, storage, and the nourishment. Clear? Then let's talk about the male accessory glands, seminal vesicles. It activates and provides energy to facilitate sperm motility and the ejaculation. So main function is the activation and the production of the energy. So this energy is required for the motility of the sperm. Then prostate gland nourishes and activates the sperm, enhances sperm motility, provides alkalinity to the ejaculate, and neutralizes the urine acidity. Clear? So this alkalinity is very much important. Clear? This maintains the alkaline conditions. So it maintains the alkalinity to the ejaculate, the semen. Okay. Then the Copler's gland, also known as the bulbourethral gland. So enhances the mobility and survival potentiality of the sperms in the genital tract of the female, and it neutralizes the activity of the acidic female vaginal secretions. So vaginal secretions are quite acidic. Clear? So this secretions of the Copler gland, it neutralizes the acidic female vaginal secretions. Clear? Now let's move on to the next question. What is oogenesis? And give a brief account of oogenesis. So oogenesis is the production of the female gamete, which is known as the ovum. So you have to give a brief account of oogenesis. Now let's have a look at the answer. Oogenesis is the phenomena of the formation of haploid female gamete, which are known as the ova, from the diploid oogonia in the ovary. Clear? Graafian follicle to be precise. So this ova is present in the Graafian follicles. Clear? Because after the rupture of the Graafian follicles, there is the release of the ova. Clear? We have already seen when we have studied the menstrual cycle, then what happens? The Graafian follicle is formed, okay, which is the mature follicle, and within the Graafian follicle, this ovum is present, and the rupture of the Graafian follicles releases this ovum. Clear? Now this process is discontinuous, which is initiated during the period of the fetal development, that is terminated only after the puberty sets in. Clear? Now let's talk about the process of oogenesis. It takes place in 3 phases that are listed below. Let's have a look at these 3 phases. First is the multiplicative phase. So here what happens? The follicle cells are differentiated from the germinal epithelium of the ovary due to the repeated mitosis divisions. Now new follicle cell enlarge and are termed as the egg mother cells. So these egg mother cells will be diploid, and these undergo the mitosis to multiply, which is referred to as the oogonia. So first of all, oogonia is formed. Clear? So oogonia, these are known as the egg mother cells, and these are produced by the mitosis. Okay, so some of the follicular cells, they enlarge. Okay, and these enlarged cells, these are known as the egg mother cells. These egg mother cells, they undergo mitosis. All right, and now they are known as the oogonia. Now next is the growth phase. Now once the oogonia of the egg nest differentiate, while the rest change into surrounding nutritive follicular epithelium. Okay, so one of the oogonia, clear, one of the oogonia of the egg nest. So egg nest consists of a lot of the oogonia. So one of the oogonia that will differentiate, while the rest of the oogonia, they transform into the nutritive follicular epithelium. Clear? So there is an increase in the size of the differentiated isolated oogonium. So this oogonium will enlarge. There will be increase in the size, and what happens? It gets nourishment from the girdling follicular cells, okay, or the surrounding follicular cells, thereby transforming into a diploid primary oocyte. So this is how the primary oocyte is formed. So you can say in the growth phase, there is the formation of a diploid primary oocyte. And how primary oocyte is formed? So some of the oogonia cells, one of the oogonia cells which are present in so many oogonia cells. Clear? So only one of the oogonia that will differentiate. Okay, rest of the cells, they will transform into the nutritive follicular epithelium. Now this oogonia, this will increase in size, all right, and it is getting nourishment from the surrounding follicular cells, and now this oogonia is known as the primary oocyte. Clear? Then next is the maturation phase. So here what happens? The diploid primary oocyte now, okay, in this phase passes through two maturation divisions, meiosis 1, all right, which is known as the first meiotic division, and this splits the diploid primary oocyte into two haploid cells, wherein the larger one is known as the secondary oocyte and the minor one is known as the polar body or the polocyte. So what is happening here? The primary oocyte, which is formed from the oogonia. So oogonia, it enlarges and it forms the primary oocyte. Now primary oocyte will undergo meiosis 1 and it will form the larger one is known as the secondary, a large cell that is known as the secondary oocyte. Okay, and a smaller cell that is known as the first polar body. Then what happens? This secondary oocyte, it will undergo meiosis 2. So you can see. So in meiosis 2 or second meiotic division, the secondary oocyte again splits to form one large oocyte and the tiny secondary polar body. So now secondary oocyte will undergo meiosis 2 and it will again form oocyte. Clear? Oocyte is, all right, large. It is the larger cell oocyte and it forms another cell which is the smaller cell that is known as the second polar body. Clear? Now what happens? The first polar body splits through mitosis to form the two polar bodies again. So this first polar body, this will undergo mitosis to form, because after mitosis two cells are formed. So here two polar bodies will be formed. Clear? Now the oocyte will mature into the functional haploid ovum. This oocyte will then mature into the ovum. Clear? So secondary oocyte will be haploid, primary oocyte will be diploid, oogonia will be diploid. After meiosis 1, which is known as the reductional division, secondary oocyte will be haploid, oocyte will be haploid, ovum will also be haploid, because meiosis 2, this is similar to mitosis. Meiosis 1 is known as the reductional division. So here you can see there is the reduction in the chromosome number. Clear? Now therefore the primary oocyte, okay, this one produces one large ovum, one large ovum, and 3 polar bodies. So these were the 2 polar bodies, and this is the 1 polar body. So in total 3 polar bodies are produced, okay, which degenerates later on. They degenerate as they do not participate in the reproduction, thus leaving behind one functional ovum only. So only one functional ovum is left, and these polar body, 3 polar body, they degenerate. This is clear? All right, we've also studied that what happens, this primary oocyte, this is covered by the granulosa cells, and it forms the primary follicle. Then primary follicle transform into the secondary follicle. Secondary follicle then transform into the tertiary follicle. Then tertiary follicle is transformed into the Graafian follicle. Clear? And in the Graafian follicle, then the primary oocyte will start dividing. It will complete its meiotic division. It will complete its division, meiotic division, and then it will form secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte will be released from the Graafian follicle. Okay, clear? Now draw a label diagram of a section through the ovary. So this is the section of the ovary. Clear? So you can see here, this is the primary follicle. Then from the primary follicle, secondary follicle is formed, then tertiary follicle is formed. Then tertiary follicle give rise to the Graafian follicle, and Graafian follicle ruptures to release the ovum, and the Graafian follicle, after the release of the ovum, the rest of this structure that is left, that transform into the corpus luteum. Clear? And here you can see the blood vessels. So what happens here? The primary oocyte the primary oocyte, it gets surrounded by the granulosa cells. Now, this is known as the primary follicle. The primary oocyte, which is surrounded by the granulosa cell, this is known as primary follicle. Now, the primary follicle again gets surrounded by, so here they get surrounded by one layer. Now they get surrounded by more layers of the granulosa cell and a new theca also. Then it forms the secondary follicle. Now the secondary follicle, it get transformed into the tertiary follicle. Tertiary follicle, it forms the Graafian follicle. Now here you should notice that it is here in the tertiary follicle that the primary oocyte completes its division. Because primary oocyte, initially it was arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis. Now the primary oocyte completes its division here. So now the primary oocyte will transform into secondary oocyte, and then the ovum will be formed. Clear? So Graafian follicle, what happens? This ruptures, okay, and it releases the ovum. And what is formed? The rest of the structure is transformed into the corpus luteum, which is a temporary endocrine, which acts as a temporary endocrine gland, and it secretes estrogen as well as the progesterone. So you can see in this section of the ovary, you can see all of these structures. This is clear? All right. Now let's move on to the next question. You have to draw a label diagram of the Graafian follicle. Clear? So this is the label diagram of the Graafian follicle. So you can see all these structures here. Antrum, corona radiata, secondary oocyte nucleus, zona pellucida, okay, cumulus ophorus, basement membrane, theca interna and theca externa. Clear? So you can see Graafian follicle consists of the secondary oocyte. So I've already told you, when the tertiary follicle is formed, then within the tertiary follicle, primary oocyte is present. Now when the tertiary follicle is formed, then the primary oocyte completes its first meiotic division and it forms the secondary oocyte. So secondary oocyte is present within the Graafian follicle. Clear? So the Graafian follicle will rupture and release this Graafian follicle. You can see this zona pellucida and corona radiata. These are the layers of the ovum. Ovum consists of what layers? Outermost layers is the corona radiata. Then beneath the corona radiata is present zona pellucida. Clear? So outermost layer of the ovum is known as corona radiata. All right, which is formed from the follicular cells and it provides protection to the ovum. And beneath the corona radiata, zona pellucida is present, which interacts with the sperm. Clear? Now let's discuss all the structure. Oocyte. So it contains the female germ cells. It consists of the secondary oocyte. Okay. Now it consists of the antrum, which is the fluid-filled cavity surrounding the oocyte. It consists of the granular cells. So these surround the oocyte and they secrete the hormones. Granular cells I've already told you. The primary oocyte, they get surrounded by the granular cells and it forms the follicle. It consists of the theca cells that surround the granular cells and they produce the androgens. Clear? So theca cells, they surround the granular cells. You can write this only, okay? Till here you can write, they secrete the surround the granular cells. Cumulus oophorus. Okay, so the amount of granular cells that surround the oocyte, these are known as the cumulus oophorus. Now basement membrane is when they provide structural support and separates the follicle from surrounding tissue. Clear? So this is clear. Now, so we'll end this session here. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this session and we'll discuss rest of the questions in the next session. Thank you very much for listening.